Good morning. This is another manifestation kind of tag along video. So you cannot create abundance when your brain is in scarcity and lack, because when you're trying to manifest something into your life, or you're trying to improve your life, let's say you're trying to bring in more money. But if your brain, if like on the daily basis, if you're telling yourself these things, if you find yourself constantly in the flow of, I can't afford that, I can't do that, if there's something that, let's say there's a purchase that, I'll bring something up that recently I decided, here, I'll even show you, let's see if I can do this. I have a lot of plants in my bedroom, and that plant stand right there, that beautiful one, whoop, right there. It's kind of dark over there in that corner, but I had my eye on that plant stand. Hopefully you could hear me. I had my eye on that plant stand, that specific one, for like a year and a half. It was once I moved here to the jungle. No, it's not a jungle, it's to the forest. And I started propagating all these plants and just bringing more nature into my environment, because that's where I feel good. Home is nature for me. So I had my eye on that plant stand for a while, but I used to catch myself going, oh, I can't afford that. I can't spend money on that. Even though it was something that really, I was like, this plant stand would look amazing. It would be perfect for all these X, Y, and Z plants that I'm planting. But like when you're telling yourself there's a blockage, it's resistance. You're creating the resistance. If I'm looking at a listing of a plant stand, I'm like, that thing is $130 retail. Like normal price was $130. So like I'm the kind of person that likes to I love buying those put together shoe racks, like the ones that have like the metal poles, and it all comes in millions of pieces, because then you can just kind of like, you can create your own little stands with them. And then I collect like boards, wood, pieces of, wood that I find like out in nature, or if we're going to get rid of a piece of furniture, I'm like, well, can I use that piece as the flat part for the plants. But so if I am now trying to step into a more abundant version of myself, and pay attention. Okay, let's bring something into view. Like let's take something. So I'm still waking up. Coffee is life. Bring to mind something right now that maybe you've had your eye on, or if you are here trying to create more abundance, more financial stability, more money, more whatever in your life, bring to mind something that recently you were like, oh, I really would love that in my life. I'd really love that. But you found yourself going, oh, I can't afford that. I don't have the money for that. Or you found yourself feeling like, if you thought about buying it for yourself, your chest kind of tightened up, and you were like, oof, like I don't need it that much to be able to let go of that money. Okay, that's a huge one. Like if you desire something very strongly, but your inner talk, your inner world is constricting and saying, I can't afford that. I can't, like, that's going to be detrimental to my bank account if I let go of that money to bring that thing into my life. That's the resistance. That's the resistance that you really want to try to get away from. So try this for the next week, the next month. And if you're having a hard time with this, even just become very aware and stop yourself from going down that I can't afford, I can't whatever. Now, if you really don't have the money to actually purchase that thing right now, that's fine. I'm not telling you to go out and just splurge and buy it. What I want you to do is become very aware of the resistance that you are putting up in between the thing that you want. It's you. You're the one that's blocking that. It's not your bank account. It's not the money. There's something there. You're blocking it. So become aware. Pay attention to what your brain says. Pay attention to how you feel in your body. Pay attention to what you constrict on, the lack, the scarcity, the fear, the worry around money. Become very aware of what that is like in your body, what goes on in your brain, so that you're aware of it. So now you can be like, okay, so the thing that I did to move from that scarcity, constricting, trying never to spend money because I felt like there was never enough, that thing. What I did was I found out what I was saying to myself. I really tuned into my body. What's going on when I want to spend money on something that I truly like? Like when I think about it, when I feel into it, I'm like, yes, I have a full body yes, until whatever starts coming up, right? Now that you're aware of it, now I want you to flip it a little bit. So for me, if I was like, I can't afford that, I shouldn't, that's another big word. I shouldn't spend money on that. I shouldn't, let go of money for that. Money is energy. So if you're not circulating it, it's not going to be able to come back to you. I'm not saying go spend all your money on something. I'm just saying that we want to become aware of when we're really holding on. Maybe we don't need to really hold on. And my experience with this is when I took my I can't afford mindset, I switched that to, what if I can always afford everything I want and need? What if? Ask yourself a question, because your subconscious brain isn't really going to. Okay, so affirmations, they can work in certain situations, but this is what happens to your brain when you say an affirmation that your subconscious knows for a fact is not true. Okay, so it's like having a conversation. It's like having an inner conversation, right? You have the one version of you that's like, I see it for what it is. I want to get rid of this thing that keeps me stuck. I want to get rid of this resistance. But then there's this other person over here, and it's going, well, but that's not who we are. Sorry, that's not true. It's not true, and it's blocking it. So going from, I can't afford that, to, what if I could always afford everything I want and need? What if I always have enough money? What if I always have enough money? Ask yourself some questions. Questions makes your subconscious kind of think, stop and think. Like, why is it? A better one is, why is it that I always have enough money for everything I want and need? Why is it that I always seem to have enough money? Start replacing your I can't afford with, why is it that I can always afford everything I want and need? And really feel into that. Really feel like when you tell yourself that, when you're asking that question, really feel how, like, for me personally, it was like my body relaxed. I did not realize how constricting that was, that, those thought patterns, my body, it's a normal reaction. If you grew up in scarcity, if your parents had issues around money relating to scarcity and worry and fear and never enoughness, you're gonna feel it. It's in you, and that's okay. It's not there. We're not blaming anybody, but we want to become aware. And once we are aware that, okay, that's how my body reacts to this, now we want to introduce some questions that change the narrative around money. What if you always had more than enough money? And you know what happened for me when I started doing this? I did not spend $130 on that plant stand. When it was right, when the time was right, when I was like, I have too many propagated plants, and I am going to be bringing some of those to a friend of mine today, but I kind of need more space for plants. If I could, I would just have this little, I would love to sleep in the middle of, anyway, I love plants. I want more. I'm always open to more plants in my life. And so it was on sale. I paid $54. And that was money that I was like, yes, yes, I am so grateful. And that's another thing. When you do spend money on the thing that you're really desiring, instead of feeling that constraint, instead of feeling like, oh my God, should I have done that? Blah, 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 all that stuff that goes through your head, instead of going down that route, instead of going there, force a different path, okay? When you spend that money, sit and even put your hand on your heart. Tell yourself, wow, I am so grateful that I had the money to spend on that. Thank you, money, for being there for me. Thank you for allowing me to bring this into my life. Thank you for always being enough. Okay, now if you struggle with you not feeling like you're enough on a personal level, then you might also view money that way. Like money, there's never enough money. I don't even know. That just came to me. Like that's something that was an epiphany for me. So now once I dropped into, I've always been enough, exactly how I am. I'm the black sheep of the family. I'm the one that went against the flow of what my family has always believed and always acted. If you are here and you know that you're also the black sheep of the family, fucking A. That is the best thing that could have. That's so freaking, it's a privilege to be the black sheep of the family. You know who you are? You are the rule breaker to your lineage. You are the person that came into that family dynamic to disrupt it. Because if you actually look at that family dynamic, what things have been in your lineage, generationally speaking, that has kept people stuck, has kept people small, has kept people in. There's so much there, but if you're the black sheep of the family, I want you to celebrate that. Celebrate that you are different. Different is good. You probably came here to break it. Break all that shit. Okay? For me personally, I know I came into this family dynamic. Yep. And I've never actually like said this publicly. But my family dynamic has been programmed and so heavily, what's the word? Kind of brainwashed in religion. But it's double-edged sword, because it's like, yes, some of the family members that are so brainwashed by this religion that is the only thing they have that to hold on to. And I see that if you took that away from them, I will be right back. Okay, if you took that away from them, their whole world would crumble. I've seen it happen. Like, crumble. And so if you're here and you see the things in your family dynamic that don't feel right to you, but your whole family is kind of like trying to force whatever it is. It doesn't always have to be religion. You know, it can be the scarcity mindset. That's also a deep rooted one in my family line. And it was just recently that I found out that I knew that my immediate family, my parents, there was a lot of worry and scarcity growing up. But I did not even realize that, my grandpa even used to say, we're the little one, we're the little people. We're not meant to have everything. We're not meant to rise above where we're at. And I'm just like, whoa. And then I look further back, and it's like, we need to break this. We're here to break it. We're here to completely break that. So in order for you to break that, in order for you to come into your own power. we need to remove that resistance that we have within us because we grew up in this dynamic. So we're programmed with certain programs, okay? So notice the resistance. What's the resistance when you think about spending that money on that thing that you really want? What comes up? What are the excuses? And I'm not saying excuses. There's a fine line, right? Like, I'm not saying go blow your money, but we want to get really clear, because until you get really clear on what's holding you back and what your nervous system can handle and what your body's telling you, until we can get until we realize what's really holding us back from feeling the abundance of being able to purchase that thing and have that in our life. and money is energy. It's always going to fulfill itself. So another thing that I noticed when I started switching my my mind frame from I don't have money for that to, and I think I spoke about that briefly in one of my videos, where I don't even know if I uploaded that video. There was a video that I was like, oh my God, that was like really drawn out. And I was thinking, I was judging it. I might go back and like actually post it, because I can't remember if that was the video I was talking about. But when I stopped myself from, when an unexpected expense or an unexpected opportunity, even when like exciting opportunities would present themselves, but I didn't really know how I was going to pay for it before, it would kind of send me into this immediate, I can't afford that. I can't do that. I can't afford it. And it would constrict. My body would be constricting. So instead, whenever that thought process wants to come up, I switch the dialogue. I cancel that. I'm like, no, you don't. I'm like, no, that's not our truth anymore. That is not the reality we live anymore. And instead, I bring in abundance. I bring in the feeling of, oh my God, that feels good. Yeah, I want to do that. I want to say yes to that. I want to go have the most amazing time spending the money on that thing or that experience or whatever it is. And I sink into gratitude. I literally will just sit there and be like, thank you, money, for being there for me. Thank you for always being more than enough. This works on everything, okay? I've recently had some unexpected vet bills. Basically, like, I never really know how much money I'm going to end up spending on vet visits. My dog has allergies, and so I never really know how much money per year I'm going to be spending. And so anything extra goes into my savings, and vet bills come out of my savings when they're needed, right? Same thing with car expenses, like just anything that's kind of unexpected that I can't really it's into my savings. And so like sometimes when an unexpected vet bill would come up or car bill would come up, that would be when my body would go into, but I'm like I'm trying to hold on to this amount of savings or whatever that narrative is. But instead I'm like, no, I am so grateful I have more than enough money to cover this. And you know what always happens? What always happens is when I sink into that, instead of going down that fear, scarcity, when I sink into the gratitude of always having enough money to pay for everything I need, everything me and my dog needs and wants, like when I sink into that and I spend the money in that energy, I'm spending the money. When I pay for that vet bill, I am grateful. I'm like, thank you, money. Thank you for always being there for me. Thank you for covering that. And I know it's going to come back to me tenfold, right? What will usually happen is either my next paycheck or something unexpected will happen where I have, like, it's covered unexpectedly. I don't even have to take it out of my savings account. Okay. So when you start switching, getting rid of that resistance, figuring out where the resistance is, where it comes from, understanding that, okay, I'm going to be kind to myself. I understand why my brain works this way. I understand that it came from X, Y, and Z, but I no longer want to live that way. It's a decision to make. It's just a decision. You can decide to not feel that way. Your feelings are your decisions. Your thought processes are your decisions. You can make a conscious decision right now that whenever those feelings come up, you're going to be like, even just thank them for being there. Like, thank you for being there. I understand that you were a survival mechanism for me in the past, but I no longer need that. So thank you, but I'm going to choose to always believe that I have more than enough money for everything I want and need, and really sit into that gratitude of it. And then spend the money when you're in that frame of mind, when you're in that space, when you feel like, yes, that's actually absolutely something I want to release some money for, because I know I always have more than enough and it's going to come back to me. So that was just kind of like something that came up. Wanted to share it with you guys. Some of my videos are just going to be this way. I realized that when I sat down yesterday to film a video, I was trying to structure it a certain way, and I couldn't do it. And then the video just felt so, ugh. So I know the algorithm likes certain things, but and I'm going to lose bandwidth again. Maybe start your mornings with gratitude for having more than enough. Let's start there. Start there. Really start getting conscious about what goes on in your head when you start feeling like constriction around money, if you want to bring more into your life, and start reframing what normally happens. Instead of, I don't have enough for that, I don't have money for that. What if you always had more than enough money for everything you want and need? What if? Start living in that feeling. Start lessening that hold that the normal scarcity thing, does. Start lessening the hold on that and start really feeling into, I always have more than enough. What does that feel like to you? Just sit there and tell yourself that. Put your hand right here and just be like, I always have more than enough money for everything I want and need. What would that feel like? You probably never allowed yourself to feel that way before. Feel it. It feels wonderful. If you have struggled with money your entire life, start feeling that, because your feeling state is what brings things into your life. So when you start feeling that way, things are going to start to shift. They're going to start to change. It's just a conscious awareness, redirection, and come into the feeling of already having it, of knowing you always have it. You always have more than enough. And until next time, don't forget your coffee.